Why did the CCP inflate a minor incident? A state-owned chairman drunk at the airport and suddenly dismissed. This is the Jersey News Commentary Channel. What makes this incident striking is not just its absurdity, but the fact that it is an absurdity that feels all too normal while the way it was handled is anything but normal. On April 20, 2026, Xinhua News Agency and People's Daily revealed that on March 21, 2024, Ren Yu, former chairman and party secretary of China National Aviation Holding Equipment Group, along with Zhao Baohui, former chief accountant and party committee member, and 5 others, were transiting through Frankfurt Airport in Germany on official business. During the layover, Ren Yu, Zhao Baohui, and others gathered in the business class lounge and drank heavily. Zhao became severely intoxicated and was denied boarding by airline staff. Ren Yu then pressured the flight crew, demanding that the entire group be allowed to board, ultimately causing a 68-minute delay and triggering strong dissatisfaction among passengers. Beyond forcing their way onto the plane while intoxicated, authorities also reported that they had illegally upgraded their seats, concealed the incident upon returning to China, and continued to provide false information to the State-Owned Assets Supervision and Administration Commission SASAC, even when an investigation was launched in March 2026. On April 20, Ren Yu and Zhao Baohui were given disciplinary punishments including removal from party posts and administrative dismissal. Several accompanying personnel, disciplinary officials within the company, and relevant airline staff were also penalized. Let me state the conclusion first. What is truly shocking here is not that officials got drunk and caused trouble at an airport. What is shocking is that this incident was publicly exposed with such high-profile coverage and elevated to the level of distorted political performance values and harm to public interests. Because within the CCP system, preferential treatment for officials, priority access, special privileges, subordinates clearing the way for leaders, and ordinary people yielding to power has never been an exception. It has long been institutionalized, normalized, and even codified. The Ren Yu incident is absurd, but it is not unfamiliar. What is unfamiliar is that it is now being placed on the table and used as a model case. Even more noteworthy is the timing. The incident occurred in March 2024, more than 2 years ago. This is not a case that was just discovered. It was known long ago, suppressed for a long time, and only now suddenly brought out for punishment. In other words, what determines whether such a case is handled is not the incident itself, but when it becomes politically necessary to act on it. So we must ask, why now? If you truly believe this is because the CCP has suddenly had a moral awakening now detesting privilege, official arrogance, and the disconnect between cadres and the public, then you are being naive. If the CCP truly intended to combat privilege, it would not begin with a drunken official in Frankfurt. It would begin with dismantling its own hierarchical system, where power takes precedence over rules and officials stand above the public. It is precisely this system that makes practices like flights must wait if a high-ranking official is on board, drunk officials demanding group boarding, and staff bending rules to prioritize VIPs possible. Without deeply entrenched institutional authority, figures like Ren Yu would not behave this way. Without a culture where power overrides rules and rank overrides procedure, airline staff would not repeatedly yield. This official report, in fact, proves the opposite of what it claims. The problem is not just Ren Yu, but an entire system accustomed to bowing to power. So why handle it at this moment? My answer is clear. This is not about correction, it is about pressure release. Not about ending privilege but about venting public anger. Recently, CCP state media have been loudly promoting the idea of establishing a correct view of political performance. On March 31, Qiushi published an article emphasizing the need to expose typical cases and publicly report them. On April 20, the central authorities highlighted the Ren Yu case. On the same day, 4 cases targeting formalism and bureaucratic burden were also publicly reported, emphasizing corrections to practices like evaluating performance by quantity and frequent rankings, and warning against numbers producing officials and officials producing numbers. On April 21, People's Daily published another article criticizing excessive reporting and asking for instructions on everything, pointing to a mentality of shirking responsibility, performative compliance, and bureaucratic inertia. Taken together, these propaganda efforts clearly show that the CCP is deliberately creating an atmosphere that suggests it is seriously rectifying official conduct. But is this real reform? I don't think so. This is better understood as a new form of political packaging using limited, selective, and highly visible punishments to create the illusion that the system is correcting itself. Put bluntly, this is an upgrade in political deception. Its goal is not to eliminate injustice, but to ease dissatisfaction, not to dismantle the pressure cooker, but to release a bit of steam. Why now? Because Chinese society increasingly resembles a pressure cooker on the verge of explosion. Economic decline, rising unemployment, tightening local finances, frozen social mobility, and declining tolerance for inequality. These pressures are accumulating rapidly. In times of prosperity, official privilege can be tolerated. In times of unemployment and falling income, it becomes an unbearable provocation. A drunken official delaying an entire flight might once have been just an online joke. But in today's climate of widespread resentment, it easily becomes a symbol of systemic injustice. A small spark can ignite a prairie fire. That is why many actions today are not triggered by principle, but by public outrage. In the official narrative, a key phrase stands out: harm to public interests. On the surface, this refers to making passengers wait 68 minutes. But politically, it means something deeper. Once exposed, such incidents can ignite collective anger over officials standing above the people while ordinary citizens endure silently. This is not new, but in today's tense atmosphere, it is far more dangerous. A pile of dry wood needs only a single match. That is why this case was turned into a model. It also explains why authorities are simultaneously cracking down on formalism, fake performance metrics, and excessive reporting. These are not the most severe forms of corruption, but they are the most visible and emotionally resonant for ordinary people. The real function of these campaigns is not to dismantle bureaucratic dysfunction, but to create the impression that those above are disciplining those below. More importantly, recent waves of violent incidents and random acts of retaliation have further heightened social tension. The undercurrent of anger is rising across society. Against this backdrop, the most important takeaway from the Ren Yu case is not that the CCP is correcting privilege. On the contrary, it shows that as public dissatisfaction intensifies, the regime has become more sensitive to potential flashpoints and more reliant on selective punishment to manage emotions and contain risk. Put even more bluntly, the system has not improved. The CCP has simply become more afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that a seemingly trivial incident could connect all strands of public frustration: privilege, unemployment, inequality, repression, and despair. Afraid that a single video, a delayed flight, or a display of official arrogance could ignite a broader backlash. So it must make an example of a few individuals to tell society, look, we are taking action. To tell the public, we hear your anger. And to tell officials, keep a low profile, don't create trouble for the party right now. That is why the real shock of this case is not that privilege is being dismantled, but that even such a minor scandal once easily buried is now brought into the spotlight and publicly sacrificed. It reflects not the system's capacity for self-correction, but its deep anxiety about its own fragility. Ren Yu has fallen, but privilege has not. Zhao Baohui has been removed, but official arrogance remains. Today it is the drunken airport scandal. Tomorrow there will be another. As long as the system that places power above the people remains, such absurdities will never disappear. What we are witnessing is not reform, but the replacement of a smoking metal plate, just enough to release pressure and keep the broken pot from exploding. As long as the CCP remains, as long as its core structure remains, the pressure cooker will continue to hiss until one day, it no longer can.